I think we're live. My apologies for the delay. For some reason, my regular camera has ceased functioning, and whatever I tried, even rebooting my computer, couldn't get it to work. And so I'm now using my iPhone as a camera, but that too is always a bit tricky because then you have to kind of let the Mac know that I want to use the camera of the phone. And so that also doesn't always work. But I'm here now. What I'm going to do while people will start arriving, is I will post a link to this live session to at least the few channels that people usually expect such a link. So that means I have to go to... And I have no idea why the camera all of a sudden stops working. It has always functioned. Actually, it's one of the reasons that I bought this camera, is that it could be used as a webcam, but then it is running Canon software, and they do updates from time to time. There's the camera. I'm still looking at the old camera. And I think that their last update must have broken the connection for some reason. Let's see. We go to YouTube. Hello, Daniel. Hello, Spencer. I'll be with you in a second, if you have a moment. Let me just look up the link to the live stream here. There we go. And then I think I can just copy this one and then post it to Buffer, I guess. Okay, calendar. Let me just put this up real quick. Oh, now Buffer is taking a long time. Maybe it's something with my internet. All right. So I'm a priest and I'm a geek. Ask me anything. Anything. And then I'll just post this. Oh, of course I cannot post that on LinkedIn. No, sorry, not on LinkedIn. On what is it? Instagram, because Instagram does not have direct links, which is pretty bad. I think I can just post it like this. Can I post this immediately? Immediately? Let's post this right now. Can I set that to 7 o'clock? No, it can't. It has to be in the future. Okay, 7:10 then. Done. Schedule posts. There we go. Huh. All right. Now that I've done my duty and alerted the people, let's look at your questions. What are my thoughts on wrestling? Oh, cameras there, questions are there. I have no thoughts on wrestling other than I have never watched any wrestling, so I don't know what it's about. The only wrestling that I've ever seen were these, and this was a big thing when I was in secondary school, I think, were these kind of the fake wrestling, the like Hulk Hogan stuff, which to me always looked a bit hilarious because it was so obviously theater. But no, I'm not really familiar with wrestling. Not so much of a sports guy anyway, except for running. But I'm more of like, I like to run myself, but I don't like watching sports of any kind. It's just, I don't have the patience for it. I would love to rewatch Evangelion. In fact, I still have to watch the movies. So I watched the series and I've watched the first remake. But then there are 2 or 3 more movies that I haven't watched yet. And apparently the story is very different from the TV series. So yeah, I'd love to watch it. It's on Amazon Prime here in the Netherlands. Um, it's on my list. Daniel wants to know if I'm going to watch the James Gunn Superman movie. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to watch that. Um, I I personally was not a huge fan of the Snyderverse. For me, those movies were a bit too dark, but that's because I grew up with a very old-fashioned Superman, who was always the good guy. And um, yeah, the Snyderverse. I mean, those movies were very well executed, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. And I hope that James Gunn will find a nice balance between kind of what modern filmmaking requires, but also I would love to see a more optimistic Superman again. James Gunn is an excellent director, an excellent screenwriter. He has a great love for the DC universe, so I have no doubt that it's going to be excellent. Um, but am I going to watch it? I don't go to the movies anymore because it's kind of a high sensory environment. You may know that I have ADHD and probably also a bit of autism. And so when I am in a movie theater and there are other people next to me or behind me and they are eating and drinking, all that noise is just very difficult for me to focus on the movie. And so I prefer to watch my movies here, just on TV when they're on streaming. So I'll just have to wait until it shows up on HBO, I guess, or HBO Max. What is it called now? HBO Max. But yeah, I actually am looking forward to Superman. Hello, Football Epic Shorts. Uh, yeah, maybe it's hard to tell what another Henry Cavill Superman movie would have been. The problem was, I think, that the for Warner, those last few DC movies just underperformed. The Flash was a box office disaster, and Black Adam, was it Black Adam? That movie also didn't do very well, and personally, I thought it was a horrible movie. I really did not like it. Shazam, second movie, did not do very well, and so after all these box office problems, Warner is like, well, we need to make money. Let's change course, and that's Warner for you. They have very little respect for continuity. It's like that's why they're doing Harry Potter again. It's like there's money. We can make more money. Let's make more money. Yeah, that's kind of the downside of DC being in the hands of Warner Brothers. But so even though maybe in theory that next Superman movie with Henry Cavill might have been good, but it might also have been another disaster. You never know. The idea was undoubtedly very good, but the execution, they could still mess that up tremendously. There's so much that can go wrong in the wrong hands, like a mismatch with the director or editing. Let's not forget editing. I thought that even the Snyder movies, when they first came out, were pretty disastrous when it comes to editing. That's why he did his kind of final cut, which was a lot better. But yeah, so there's so many risks, and I guess that Warner just wanted to bet on another horse after too many defeats. Can't blame them for that. It's not the best, but it's unfortunately the way things go nowadays. Hello, Spencer. Long-time listener. Do you still have the podcast somewhere where you rode my bike to see one of the Star Wars movies? I remember that episode had so much background noises. ASMR vibes. I don't even remember I did. Yeah, I have saved all my my podcasts. I have an archive that covers every single podcast episode that I made since 2005. So that's probably 4, 5, 6,000 podcasts. I don't remember which Star Wars movie it was and what I recorded. Yeah, if you remember which movie it was, then probably I could look in the archives and kind of estimate when that was. But it's those podcasts are no longer online. But I'm always happy to look it up for you. but I need a few more details. Hey, Mike, good to see you. Um, let's see. Oh, that was Spencer's question. Spencer Barron, your name does ring a bell. I had good friends that are called Barron, but I'm not sure if you're related to them or if that's just a coincidence. Um, Danielle says the Flash movie was amazing. Yeah, I personally liked it. Unfortunately, a lot of other people didn't, so it did not do very well at the box office, which is the only thing that counts for Warner. So yeah, but actually, I thought I didn't expect the movie to be as good as it was. Uh, Wrestling is redneck soap opera. Superman killing Zod. Yeah, that wasn't a good move either. I didn't like that whole fight between Zod and Superman. For me, it was way too violent, way too dark. Superman kind of acted as if he was in some dire need of some super therapy. um, hey, chocolate chip cookies. First time tuning in since my video on freerun. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love doing those videos on freerun. I am so hoping that I can do more videos soon. Um, I recently watched a few more episodes of the first season, and I thought they were excellent. The story is really getting deeper and deeper. I'm not on Letterboxd, Spencer. Um, I I might have an account, but I do all my tracking on Tracked, which is a kind of an open source equivalent. The advantage of Tracked is that it does movies but also TV shows, and since the majority of what I watch nowadays is TV shows, for me it was a better alternative. I think that Letterboxd told us more than a year ago that they would also branch out to TV, but I don't think that has happened yet. Otherwise, I would probably switch because Letterboxd is a bit more elegant. Tracked is a bit clunky as an interface, but yeah, with Tracked, I can Tracked.tv. I can actually track my TV shows, which is very useful because then I can see where I am in which season, which I tend to forget over time, especially if I don't watch. Like for instance, anime. There are a lot of anime series that I watch, but sometimes there will be like month-long breaks between the last episode I saw and a new one. And so for me, being able to track all that anime on tracked.tv is a boon. Isn't that a cute Baby Yoda doll? Yeah, it's handmade actually. I didn't buy it. This was made by someone um, in when the first season had just come out or wasn't even finished, and there was no merchandise because Baby Yoda was supposed to be a secret, a surprise. And so this lady contacted me. She knew me from Dutch TV, and she said, "I think I can make some, or maybe you should just send it to me." But it was a huge surprise, and it's lovely. Phantom Menace, maybe the re-release. Probably, yeah, it could be Phantom Menace. No, it can't be Phantom Menace because that was in the U.S. or I was in the U.S. for that. Uh, I certainly didn't have a bike back then. Um, it wasn't one of the sequel movies because I watched all those on the red carpet premieres in Amsterdam. It can't have been Rogue One. It must have been before that. Maybe it was a re-release, or maybe some movie marathon or something. Or maybe I recorded it after for a second or third viewing of those movies, like one of the sequels. I just don't recall. It's been a long time. Can you name all the anime I watched? I can certainly try. Um, let's see. Neon Genesis Evangelion, Yo-Yo's Bizarre Adventure, Doctor, what's his name? Doctor, the guy where they are sent back in time. Um, the one where the guy ends up in an RPG, Frontier, Shangri-La Frontier, uh, Delicious in Dungeon, um, Dragon, no, uh, Demon, is it Demon Slayer? One Piece, uh, a quirky anime about bathhouses, Roman bathhouses. Don't ask. It's a very interesting historical anime. A lot of fun. Um, the one with the giants, Attack on Titan. Um, Spy versus. I'm so bad with names. I'm sorry. That's my ADHD brain. My short-term memory is malfunctioning. But Spy versus Family. I think that's it. The Orb anime. There is the there is actually a Blade Runner anime which is awesome. Near Automata, fantastic, so underrated. Um, there are a few more. Is that gives you an idea? Um, Cyberpunk, excellent. Yes, loved it. Partisan liked my videos of the Camino. It was very hard, yes. I made a three-part television show about that Camino. I haven't posted everything online, but yeah, it was. I don't regret a single day of that journey. It was life changing. It revealed a lot about myself that I wasn't aware of, and in hindsight, definitely ADHD. That was so much part of the experience, but it's only years later that I finally clicked, that I finally understood why the Camino went the way it went. Uh, and I just loved the people. I loved the adventure. It was hard though. It was very physical. It uh, yeah, it was tough. Just walking for 60 days every single day, like 25, 30, 35 kilometers. It is very grinding. And so that was an aspect of the walk that I totally underestimated, and it wasn't something that went away. It's just until the very last day. Every day was a bit of a way of the cross, but it was so worth it. I'd do it again tomorrow if I could. Would I think of Alien Earth trailer? I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet. I love the Alien franchise. I hope it's going to be good. Um, okay, so they have a sequel to The Flash. Yeah, I think they were hoping that The Flash would do very well. And then there obviously would have been a sequel, but now I'm not so sure anymore. Maybe they'll rehash it as a comic book series, or I don't know, or maybe they'll just keep it for who knows when. I don't know. Daniel's first anime was Sailor Moon. Uh, yeah, that was a really, really good series. It's now considered to be vintage, but I remember, I mean, I wasn't watching anime, didn't have any access to anime for most of my life. But I was aware of it, and it's in hindsight now that I'm looking at, for instance, retrospectives and documentaries about anime, and how anime has evolved over the years, that I acknowledge how important Sailor Moon has been for the genre and for the, you could say, the maturation of the genre, just the quality of storytelling, and what they did with the characters, and the themes. It was one of those examples that showed the world that anime is more than just um, kind of a Japanese Disney type of stuff. It goes way beyond that. It's an art form, and storytelling in anime is incomparable with anything else out there. Oh, there were railroad crossing sounds in the background of that bike tour to. It's probably when I lived in Amersfoort because I had to go if I went to the city center, so to the movie theater by bike, I would have to cross the railway several times. So an interesting tip that narrows it down. Maybe I can cross reference with dates and do I have no I don't no there's no online unless no I don't think there's an online archive anymore of those episodes, but I'll look around. I'll let you know next time I do a live show. um Beef Stewie thought that the 90s animated DC was peak. Batman, Justice League. What is TAS? TAS. I have no idea what that is. Um, yeah, they could have done so much more with animation. Um, Marvel is actually doing something really interesting now with it, like continuing these retro series. What they did with X-Men was excellent. And the Spider-Man, I've watched 2 episodes of the kind of the retro Spider-Man animated series, and it is really good. Um, yeah, DC. I think it is probably just because of the rights owners. Isn't it Sony who owns? Does Sony own any DC? It's definitely Warner. I don't know about the animated part of the DC universe. Who is in charge of that? But from what I understand, Gunn is going to be responsible for all these different uh, media. So it's going to be movies, TV shows, comics, books, I think. So he has the opportunity to create a very cohesive experience. Let's just hope that the quality will be on par. But it's an interesting experiment. I don't think we've ever seen such synergy before. Even in the Marvel universe, I don't think there was that same focus that they have now with James Gunn. Let's wait and see. Yeah, Michael Keaton is of course always leaving the door open for another gig. I would too if I were him. It's it's an actor, so he probably doesn't really know if there's anything serious there. But obviously, as an actor, you want to say, "Hey, I'm available." It's like Tamara Morrison now saying, "Hey, where's my second season of Boba Fett?" Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen, but I understand that he's trying. Why not? It's a good source of income. Andrew asks, "What do you think about them releasing Kevin Smith's Dogma?" Yeah, interesting. I've seen Dogma. I actually have it on DVD, and it's a bit funny to me why it was such a caused such an upheaval and such a scandal. Because I think it is actually a very interesting satirical movie, and it makes a couple of really good points. And I can totally understand that. Let's say a certain part of the Christian demographic was upset about it, but maybe that was the whole point of the movie. So personally, I'm not saying that I enjoyed it, but it was definitely it was a very watchable movie, and so yeah, why not? I'm so against censorship, so yeah, let people watch it. Let there be debate. That's how we can grow wiser. So yeah, I'm not easily shocked, as you know by now. Superman the animated series, that Superman was my first. I was weak and nerfed. People were complaining that they made him so weak. Yeah, yeah, but that's an interesting idea. that in any superhero movie, it only gets interesting when the superhero has a weak spot. Think of Achilles. If he didn't have his Achilles heel, that would have been totally forgotten. It's because of the weakness that people remember that mythological story. And I think that for superheroes, there's nothing more annoying than superheroes that are overpowered. So, but I agree with you that you don't want to overdo it. A hero has to be a hero. But that was also a little bit my problem with the Snyderverse, was that the superheroes, maybe they were very powerful, but mentally they were not very super. They were all in kind of really strange places and struggling with a lot of issues. And I don't know. Yeah, that for me was actually my biggest complaint. Is like, okay, can we have heroes that actually mentally show some heroism instead of being so self-obsessed with all their gloomy thoughts? You know, there's a lot of that in the world right now. I want examples that show me that there is a different mindset that you can have. So anyway, we'll see. Uh, well, Sergio, I appreciate it. I'm not sure if I'm funny, but I'm usually quite laid back. Thoughts on the Oscars finally creating a stunt category? Well, the best time to introduce that was 40 years ago. The second best time to introduce it is right now. That's all I have to say. Now, obviously, there should have been... There are a lot of other categories that should be there as well. Special effects. Why is that just one Oscar? I mean, that should be... Like, you have comping, you have CGI, you've got coloring, you've got... there's so many disciplines in movie creation that play a vital role and yet are completely snubbed by the Oscars. I mean, the least interesting category is the actors, because the actors are nothing without everyone else making that movie. And even a bad actor can still win an Oscar if the editing is good, if the director is good. So, yeah, I'm all for broadening the categories for Oscars. Talking about the Marvel Animated Universe, X-Men 97 was fantastic. They pushed it back. Oh, I did not know that they had trouble with the creator. I'm sure that money can solve that little issue. No, I love that they really did justice to the original series, and I think it is stunning to see how much they made it feel like an actual sequel, not a reboot. And it made me go back and rewatch the original series, which is also excellent. I totally understand why they wanted to make a sequel. The Spider-Man, I think it was also kind of in the same vein. It's definitely the same studio. From what I've seen, it's actually also really good. But I don't know if that's something new, or it does have a bit of a retro feel to it, which I kind of like, because it reminds me of the superheroes that I grew up with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Do you have any movies that you can't wait to see this summer? A new Jurassic World, Superman, Fantastic Four. Yeah, personally, movies that I think I'm going to enjoy, definitely Superman and definitely Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four, I've always had a weak spot. For me, Fantastic Four was my favorite Marvel franchise. I loved it way more than Spider-Man or anything else. I even am a huge fan of the earlier movies. And I know I'm one of the few people, but I loved the original two Fantastic Four movies. I didn't care for the third one, the one that didn't do very well because it was such a hot mess. But now this one, I love the retro vintage look of the whole thing. It's got some fantastic actors. Yeah, I think it's going to be a massive hit. Can't wait till X-Men comes to DVD. I don't know. I I think it's still available on Disney. That's where I've been watching it. I hope it will stay there. Yeah, like physical releases are getting rarer. Um, there was a time that I was doing away with a lot of my DVDs, but thankfully I kept all my Blu-rays. But because now, back then we thought, oh, it's all going to be on Netflix, and now all these series are disappearing again, and they're not available on Blu-ray anymore. So I'm very glad that I have a lot of my stuff on Blu-ray. Uh, we have to give tomorrow Tom Cruise and Jackie Chan lifetime achievements in Oscars. Yeah. Although Tom Cruise, yes, he does a lot of his stunts, but it's also a bit overrated. They make it seem as though he is um, there's no CGI involved, which is totally not true. There's a lot of CGI in those movies. But yeah, he seems to have a good sense of adventure. It's a bit of his trademark right now. You keep wondering when is that guy finally gonna age up? You know, he still behaves and acts as someone who is like 30 years younger than he actually is. So there's gonna be this breaking point where all of a sudden he'll be an old guy, and I don't know when that's gonna come, but it's definitely gonna be there. Ah. I hate it when people say that physical media is going away. Uh, I'm not sure if it is totally going to go away. Maybe it's like vinyl, you know, that has had a comeback. Um, but it all depends on whether or not there is money to be made. It's as cynical as that. If there's no money to be made, look at the 3D Blu-rays. I have a collection of them. I wanted to buy more, but they no longer make them. And even my computer can no longer play them. I think the only way I can watch it, because I still have a 3D TV upstairs. The only way I could rewatch my 3D Blu-rays is by reconnecting my PlayStation 3, which is probably something I'm going to do because I have a number of Star Wars movies in 3D and I want to rewatch them. And obviously, ultimately, this will be something that might get a comeback with VR. Apple already offers that in the Disney Plus app on their VR headset, where you can watch a number of the Disney movies in 3D, maybe even Star Wars. I don't know, but of course, so cost prohibitive. Who can pay that? Who can pay like €3,500 for one pair of VR goggles? I do have the Quest 3, and I think that you can play 3D movies if it's side by side, but then obviously you have to install an app that can, and then you have to get the files, you know. So I don't know if it's possible to rip a 3D Blu-ray, but it's going to be very how do you say that, complicated, because of course we're talking about, I don't know, 40 gigs of data per movie. That's a lot. You can't even put that on a headset, so then you'll have to compress it, which obviously will degrade the 3D experience. So here's hoping that if those VR headsets become more affordable and more wearable, that we will see a kind of a return of, you know, these things that we only had on Blu-ray. Well, one thing I really miss is director's commentary. That used to be such a staple that I bought so many DVDs and Blu-rays just because of the director's commentary. Now in the age of streaming, it has completely disappeared. And I feel that is a massive loss, because it was part of cinema history to hear the makers, the actors talk about their experience. There was an incentive for them to sit down and record those commentaries, whereas now, of course, there isn't. And so we no longer are recording those stories. And I think that's a real shame. It's, for me, one of the biggest downsides of Disney having bought Lucasfilm, because they keep all the production information a secret. And we know that a lot of these movies went through so many revisions, that there was so much happening behind the scenes, and we will never hear that story. Whereas on the original movies, you would always have George Lucas, and he would be very open about the challenges and about what was going on, and there were a lot of interesting documentaries. With Disney, it is all so orchestrated. Even the behind the scenes stuff that you see on Disney Plus, those mini documentaries, they're all very self-serving, very prudent. They never talk about the problems, the conflicts, and that is, I think, the most important part of the movie making industry. It is the tensions. That's where the decisions are made, and now none of that is being recorded, and I think that is a huge shame, and something we will regret 50 years from now when we look back on this time. It's like, why didn't they chronicle what was going on? Because it's media history, and that matters. You mean you don't want to hang from the outside of a plane? I think I'm the same age as Tom Cruise, so no. Let's see. With Disney Star Wars, I think we just need to get Kathleen Kennedy out of there. I think that's kind of the plan. She's going to retire, and they're actively looking for someone to replace her. And the most obvious candidate for that is Dave Filoni. But I think that people severely overestimate the importance of Kathleen Kennedy on the creative process. Star Wars, the whole, is an industry. There are hundreds and hundreds of people involved in every single piece of Star Wars that you see. There is a board there are stakeholders in Disney. There is just so much more than just Kathleen Kennedy. And what you see is always the end result of a long negotiation process. And it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. Look at how Warner Brothers is handling their franchises. Could be as bad as that. So, yeah, I don't agree with all the criticism on Kathleen Kennedy, because I think it is a misconception of how the movie industry works. And I say this as well, not really an insider, but I've worked for 17 years in television. And I know that what happens behind the scenes is so different from what people think happens. And that's true for Star Wars as well. I think what is important is that the real creative talents can prove that they understand Star Wars and that they can tell compelling tales, and then Disney will just follow the market. If there is quality Star Wars and people are going to watch it, we'll get more of that. I think the whole toxic debate about Star Wars is leading nowhere, and it's not helping, because now everybody is afraid to do anything, and so you get very safe. You get Star Wars made by committee. Princess Leia would have some things to say about that, and so I like the risk takers. That is why Andor is so good. It was a huge risk. It cost them a fortune. There will never be the same creative freedom anymore in the future, because those decisions were made years ago. This was all greenlit. Also, it was greenlit by Kathleen Kennedy. Let's not forget that. Without Kathleen Kennedy, we wouldn't have had Andor. So there are two sides to all this. But I think that we will see a new concentration on movies, because that's where they think they can make the most money, and there is not as much risk as in television, and they already have the subscriptions that they wanted. There's not much market share to gain anymore for Disney, and so you will see probably a divestment from Star Wars television over time. and it will go to safer areas, like more animation, because animation is pretty cheap compared to live action. And I think for television, they will only go with the sequels that they know people are going to watch. I heard Tudek, who plays TKSO, pitch something interesting. He pitched actually like a mini series with Andor and TKSO. And I thought it was actually a brilliant idea. People would watch it because it would be Andor. But at the same time, it would be very different from the TV series or the movies. I don't know if it makes sense from a time perspective, but TKSO gets introduced towards the end of Andor, and I think there is a time jump in there somewhere. So maybe they can use that time jump to do some adventures. I don't know. I think it was a brilliant idea. And those two are so good together. I don't know. Maybe just throwing it out there in case Kathleen Kennedy is watching this live stream. It's true that they keep announcing Star Wars movies and then everything gets cancelled, postponed, shelved. But that too is not just because of her. It's the reason that she was forced to announce those things was shareholders. She didn't even want to announce them because she knew that it was all kind of flaky, but it was just the shareholders that pushed and pushed and pushed. Because that means that the stock goes up. It's as simple as that. It's all economics. But I think it has hurt the believability of Disney. So it's a risky game. But they're learning. They're much more careful with announcements today. I'm fine anyway because we're gonna get new Star Wars no matter what. So yeah, I just take all the official announcement with a grain of salt. I'll just wait and see when it shows up, and when it shows up, I'm gonna get excited about it. And if not, well, you know what, it was a good idea, but there will be other shows or movies instead. Let's see. Which film am I most interested in? Jurassic Park? Not so much Jurassic Park. There's so much Jurassic Park out there, and I feel that it's just going to be... It's a bit like Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13, and after a while you're like, oh, is there another one? Or Mission Impossible, same thing. I was like, yeah, I'll watch it someday, but I'm not in a hurry. And with Jurassic Park, it's enjoyable. It's popcorn stuff, but I'm not eagerly waiting. I haven't even seen the last one. What is it? The Lost Empire? It was, anyway. It was on Prime for a while, and then they took it off before I could watch it. So I've only watched the 2 Jurassic World movies, and then the next one, never saw it. So I will watch it eventually. I'm very glad that the franchise continues, but yeah, it's not really a must-watch for me. Superman is definitely a must-watch, but again, as I said before, I'm not sure I'm going to watch it in theaters because I don't like theaters. And the same is true for Fantastic Four. We know that every Marvel and Disney movie will eventually end up on Disney+. So I'll just wait. It's like Snow White. When it came out, I was actually really looking forward to watching it. But I didn't because I was like, okay, it's going to be on Disney+. And now it is. And you know what? I'm watching it. I've seen half of the movie. And I think it's an amazing movie. I love it. I love it so much. I can't believe that people didn't like it. I mean, there may be reasons for that, but I personally thought it was amazing. So I love it so much more than the animated classic, because that one is super dated. So, and I'm a huge fairy tale fan. I thought it was pretty brilliant. I love the songs. I think what's her name? The main actress is fantastic. Even the evil queen that everybody like Gal Gadot. Oh, she's horrible. I was like, she's just an evil queen. She's supposed to be horrible. So yeah, I have weird tastes. I usually don't follow mainstream. So Fantastic Four is definitely the one that I'm most curious about because it looks so different from all the other Marvel stuff. It's actually, they do something that I predicted years ago when the people were debating on how are you going to bring back the Fantastic Four if the Marvel Universe is now so established. I mean, how can you possibly reintegrate them in the story without everyone asking, so where were they all the time? And then I said in one of my podcasts, like, it's very simple. You just go back in time. You just do like a 60s version. You just go back to, and they can do the same with James Bond. Like everybody's like, well, what are we going to do with James Bond now? Because of the last movie. And I'm like, do a retro James Bond. Everybody will love that. It's so obvious that that's what they should do. We'll wait and see. I'm so glad that they did with the Fantastic Four. So yeah, that's definitely a movie that I'm looking forward to. I'm more curious about Superman because, as I've said before in this stream, I'm not a huge fan of the Snyderverse. I mean, it's okay. I watched it all, even the super long, extra, super duper director's cut. But I'm longing for a different style of DC stories. So yeah, I'm very curious, and I'm a big fan of James Gunn and what he did with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought those three movies, well, the first and the third, I thought they were brilliant. The second one was okay, but the third one, oh my God, that stole my heart. That was so brilliant, and that was old James Gunn. So yeah, I can't wait to see what he does. Andrew appreciates how positive and unjaded I am. I'm just being me. I've always been like that. I'm a bit of a, what they call it in Dutch, they call it, I'm a happy egg. I don't know why they call it like that, but I'm easy to please. What are my thoughts on the Return of the Jedi? I completely missed the Return of the Jedi. I didn't see it I don't even think it was in theaters here, or maybe only for a week or so. So yeah, Return of the Jedi is a movie that I've regularly watched because it's part of my childhood. I don't like it as much as I like Empire, but anytime I watch it, I enjoy it. So yeah, what else should I say about it? It's still one of the greatest Star Wars movies ever made. We've got a Facebook question or remark about Star Wars. I think people were just too focused on the sidelines of the stories instead of the stories themselves. As a Star Wars fan of the first hour, I can say I truly liked all the movies and series. Some were great, others could use some improvement. Like a good friend of mine once said, during every symphony being played, there are some false notes. However, you'll never hear them because the entire symphony is a great piece. I think that's a lovely metaphor, and I totally agree with you. I'm in the same boat. I'm a very ancient Star Wars fan. I watched A New Hope in theaters. That's how old I am. And so Star Wars cannot do wrong for me. It's I just take it for what it is. I don't have any like wish lists. I love seeing how far the franchise has come and how good the storytelling is. And even series that some people criticized, I still enjoyed 90% of it. Like, I was very critical, for instance, of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I was very critical of the Book of Boba Fett. Not the first part, but the end, the way they wrapped up the story. I thought that was such a chain of missed opportunities. That story could have been 100 times better than it was. And so I was disappointed. But it was disappointed because my bar is very, very high. But it doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy it. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to rewatch it. And so, yeah. I guess we're a dying breed of Star Wars fans. Someone says, I have so much anxiety on my future, so much restlessness inside. I feel for you. We all have that from time to time. I have very frequently moments of deep anxiety. Um, but I've learned over the years to be very compassionate with myself and to just have patience. I cannot really influence the future. I can't change the past. The only person I can influence is myself right now. And so I tend to one trick that really helps me in times of anxiety is to put a bit of a distance between me and the feelings that I feel. And I literally do this by saying out loud, I observe that right now I experience feelings of dot dot dot. Anxiety, fear. So the way I describe it is as if I'm observing the scene from a distance. And instead of becoming one with my feelings, which is immediately putting me in the front seat of a roller coaster, which is not always very healthy, I try as much as I can to be curious about what I'm feeling. So it's like, that's interesting. Right now, I'm feeling a lot of stress. My heart rate is up. So I can sense that I have feelings of anxiety. I wonder where that comes from. And are there alternative ways to looking at the situation? Can I reframe it? And that is not to say that it's super easy to do that, but it's become a reflex. And so what I then do, if I have these moments of really severe anxiety, and again, I'm being totally transparent here, I suffer from that. And so the kind of laid back, cheerful Father Roderick that you see here in front of the camera can also have moments where he feels really, really rotten and has a lot of anxiety about the future, about stuff that happens. But what I've noticed helps me a lot is to go for a walk, to move myself physically. So whenever I feel stress, even if it's like late at night, I go for a walk. I have to move my body. And 9 times out of 10, that helps. It reduces the stress by at least 50% or more. And then the second thing that always helps, always, is to write down what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. So I journal. But you can do that also in a Word document. You don't have to keep a journal. But when my head is full of anxiety and negative thoughts, I write them down so I can look at them. And then oftentimes that helps me to create a bit of distance between me and those very strong emotions. And that calms me down. So those are 2 things that have helped me a lot and still help me even today. So and then I've always like a mental mindset. What I'm trying to tell myself every time is, hey, but you made it until today. So, all those disasters, all those worst case scenarios, all those catastrophes, I still rode the wave, I still managed to survive. So I'm actually pretty strong. Otherwise, I would have never made it. So if I've made it so far up until this moment, and I survived and I was able to cope, then you know what? This next wave, I'm just going to ride it. And I know that this too is going to pass. And that 10 years from now, I'm going to look back at this moment and I'm going to think, wow, I felt pretty miserable back then. But thank God that is a thing of the past. So I always try to project myself into the future. What would Father Roderick 10 years from now think of this worry that I have right now? And again, 9 times out of 10, I probably wouldn't even remember what it was all about. So that helps me too, to just stay calm, drink a cup of tea, and watch some Star Wars. And this too shall pass. And then, of course, it helps to just tell someone else, like you're doing it right now. You're sharing that with me. And if you have friends in your life, you're very lucky if you can share those moments of anxiety with some other friends. That often too is a great help. So I hope you can find those, friends. I need to start wrapping up because we're approaching 8 p.m., which means I have to go put a pizza in the oven and get some dinner. Hey, Evo is there too. I was at the St. Joseph's Church at the Ascension of the Lord on Thursday morning, and I talked a bit about my work right now in the media, and it was really nice to see a lot of my old parishioners back. Yeah, I had a wonderful time there. It was really wonderful. Let's do it again sometime. Did I like the Skeleton Crew? Yes, I love the Skeleton Crew. I so enjoyed it. It was like reconnecting with my childhood. Yes. Like 10 out of 10. Hey Jim, that's been a long time since we talked. Uh Thoughts on the upcoming Harry Potter series? Um I'm I don't know. I have conflicting thoughts about it. Not really because of the story, because I love the story, I love the books, but because of the toxic personality of J.K. Rowling, the way she has behaved over the past few years. It feels to me like she's in a very toxic bubble, and she's doing a lot of harm. And I don't like her self righteousness, her inability to listen and to be compassionate. The way she acts, regardless of her point of view, which you may or may not agree with, but if you look at the upheaval that she causes and how many people are distraught about her positions in the media, I feel like she has become one of the villains of her own stories. She's very much behaving like a Death Eater or Voldemort type of character, and it's disturbing. And so I'm not sure if I want to support the franchise anymore because of that behavior. Because I don't condone that type of behavior. It feels like bullying. And I don't like proud people and this self-righteousness and this her attitude. I dislike it profoundly. And so I'm more of a, well, we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think the series is necessary. It's going to be another take, so that's okay. I mean, I'm okay with reboots. So it's not about the principle. It's more about the kind of the overall franchise. For me has a very dark edge to it now. And also I have to be honest. I did not like the last Fantastic Beast movie at all. I thought it was horrible. And so I started to fall out of love with Harry Potter a while ago. I still really enjoy the original stories and I love the video game and all that, but it's such a shame that J.K. Rowling is still in charge of this thing. I wish she weren't, honestly. Oh well, it is what it is. Don't you consider media to be the things of the world? No. No, I think what I do here on social media is exactly where God wants me to be. It's a way to connect. I have deeper conversations with you on YouTube than I have with my own parishioners. No, I think it is. Of course, it's a tool. You have to be always aware of the way you use that tool. But in itself, for me, it's been an incredible way of being a pastor and answering questions and helping as much as I can. So your mileage may vary depending on how you use media, I think. Isn't the desire for national superheroes part of the uncertain puberty? Maybe. I don't know. What's going on with J.K. Rowling? J.K. Rowling is has been going on for 3 years now on this crusade against trans people and yeah, and more than that. I mean, she's just been very combative and polarizing on social media, and feels very much like she's a totally different person from the one that we knew when the Harry Potter books came out, and a very unpleasant person. And I don't like that. I just don't like that. And I think it is also, it's hurting a lot of people. Um, and and that's never a good thing. Even if you're right, you're still not supposed to cause scandal and potentially hurt people. Uh, the truth should never be a weapon. It should be a guide. It should be a guiding light. And as soon as people start using whether it is the Bible or their political ideas or whatever as a weapon to hurt other people deliberately, in their tone of voice and their aggression, then they're in the wrong. Because this is a deep theological truth. Truth without love is no longer truth. Just as much as love without truth is no longer love. And so you always have to balance those. And I feel that with J.K. Rowling, that balance is lost. So, just my 2 cents, you know. We should absolutely pray for the world and for peace. It's heartbreaking what is happening right now. I think we're going to look back on this time 10 years from now and be so deeply ashamed because we let things happen that are just as bad as what happened during the previous world wars. And we're all bystanders and just letting it happen. It's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. Helen tries to do things. I love your handle. Am I planning on reading the rest of the Warrior Cats books? Well, maybe not all of them, but I definitely want to finish the first cycle because I'm hooked. It's such a wonderful story. And I love the community. I mean, I've had literally thousands of comments on that one YouTube shorts about Warrior Cats. And I understand because it's a fantastic franchise. I love cats. And in fact, this is a little bit of I've not told anyone this before. It's a scoop. I'm currently working on an outline for a book that is heavily inspired by Warrior Cats. And it's going to feature cats and dragons and pirates. That's all I'm going to say. And it's all because of Warrior Cats. It's all because of that. It's such an inspiring franchise. So thanks for asking. Why did I follow this path of priesthood? Well, I didn't really have a choice. It was a calling. I felt called when I was in Lourdes in France, when I was 17 years old. And it was for me 100% clear that God wanted me to become a priest. I'd never, ever thought of that. But since that pilgrimage, I was 100% sure, and I still am 100% sure that this is where God wants me to be. Now, when it comes to media, how did I get involved in working in this field? It's because of, well, it's also just the way my vocation has evolved. In the first years that I was a priest, I had a very big Star Wars website, one of the biggest in the world. And that was for me an opportunity to get in touch with tens of thousands of Star Wars fans and be someone who represented the church in that community. So that showed me the incredible power of the internet. And I could be a bridge between those two worlds, the world of the church and the world of geeks, because I am both. And so I then went to study social communications in Rome for 2 years at the Gregorian University. And so I'm professionally trained in radio production, television production, journalism. And so with that, I came back, and then that's when the podcast revolution started. So I began a podcast called The Catholic Insider, and I did that for many years. I started a nonprofit, which still exists, and then I swiveled to television production. I was asked first as a presenter on Dutch national television, and later I became a documentary maker, and I've been doing that for 17 years now. And in addition to that, I am now working full-time as a priest in social media. So I do a lot of YouTube and podcasting, and more recently I'm writing fantasy novels, short stories, writing a children's book series. So it's all in the creative field. And in case you were wondering, well, why is that something for a priest? Every weekend I assist here in a parish. So this is a parish with 6 locations, 6 churches. And so every weekend I'm serving Mass in one of those churches, helping the pastor here. And then, of course, I teach a lot with my documentaries. I do courses. So I just finished a course on the Celtic Saints, an online course. I also did a parish course. So I have a pretty full life, let's put it that way. But I couldn't be more happy, because this is what fits me. And I've been giving this a lot of thought recently. Because the question is, of course, could I ever go back to regular parish work? And I don't think I can. And it's not because I don't want to, but it's because I've discovered 2 years ago that I actually have autism and ADHD. And I've had it for my entire life, and I never knew it. And now I know. And it means that this kind of work fits me. But the parish work that I used to do constantly would push me to burnout. So I've had a number of burnouts in my life and a lot of health issues. And I never understood why, because I felt like I have to be able to do this. I'm a priest, for God's sake. And I felt I had myself to blame, etc. And it's now that I understand, oh my gosh, I am neurodivergent. This is just my brain cannot handle parish work. It's way too much stimuli. And unpredictability. And so that is why I'm so thankful that God steered me on this path, because I feel like I can be a source of support and pastoral vicinity or closeness to a lot of people who have no access to the church. They've never spoken to a priest. And here we are, we're chatting here. How long have we been doing this? More an hour and 15 minutes. I'm just answering questions after questions, and hopefully also supporting people. And even if I can't really help people, I can still pray for them and keep them in my prayers for the rest of the week. And then next week we can talk again. And I've been doing this for more than that, since 2005. So for 20 years, I've been doing this. And I've seen the fruits. People are now priests because of the podcast that I made about Harry Potter. There are so many fruits. And I think that I've only seen the tip of the iceberg. But this has been a very blessed ministry. And so I get very anxious when I get the feeling that at one point they will let me know that I cannot continue this work, because I know that I would burn out within 2 months in any parish. Whereas here I feel like I'm flying. This is my thing. And I hope that is mutual. I hope that you and the people that are following me and listening to my podcast or reading my stories, I hope that they concur that, this is useful. I know it is, but that's just me. All right. I'm going to wrap things up. I'm going to just quickly go through the last few questions, and then I need to go eat. Would you have changed your path even if you knew it was what he called you to do? I wouldn't have wanted it any other way, because I feel that this is what God wants me to do, and that's the source of happiness. If you know that you are where God wants you to be, doesn't mean that it doesn't have its challenges. But the older I get, the more I understand myself and why God called me, and why my life is as it is, and not the way I thought it would be. Even as a seminarian, I had a totally different idea of the future, but I've learned to trust, and that's the most important thing in one's life. Faith is trusting God. For some reason, I thought you were in Italy or France. No, I'm not. I'm Dutch. I love to be in Italy. I love to be in France. How's my book going? It's going very well. It's evolved a lot. But just this morning I was working on the story. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be great. I now have an outline for 5 books instead of 1. That's how much the story keeps evolving. But it's wonderful. And if you want to get a sample of what I'm writing and the world that I'm creating, I want to refer to my Substack. I think isn't the link here somewhere? Can't tell. Is that still up there? No, it disappeared. Oh, that sucks. I don't know where it went. Can I show that? No, for some reason it's gone. Anyway, it's probably because I'm using the iPhone. If you go to fatherroderick.substack.com, so fatherroderick.substack.com, you can read my stories. I post short stories on a daily basis, and it's a lot of fun. And some of those stories will be integrated in the novel. Nice. Gentleman Scholar has Star Wars Omnibus. Oh, those classic ones were amazing. Yeah, they were so much fun. How do you feel our mother guiding you? Yeah, she does. And I think Mary, the Virgin Mary, is helping me a lot, because I need all the help I can get. How do priests make money? That's a good question. If you are working in it depends on per country. In some countries like Belgium, it's the state who pays the priest, just like in Germany. Here in the Netherlands and in France, for instance, I'm not sure about France actually, but we are paid by the parish. And in my case, that's a problem, because I don't have a parish. I just assist, but I'm not a part of the pastoral team. So how do I make my money? By working really hard on TV. So I do a TV show, but that's not enough, because it's not enough work. And so I have a group of people that support me. I used to be on Patreon. Now it's on my website. So if you go to fatherroderick.com/join, I've set up, and it's basically donations. But it's not enough. It's still not enough. Like for 3 years in a row, we've been basically 40,000 euros in the hole. And it's because I worked a lot in television for so long that I have still a little bit of a buffer, but it's a problem. So I'm looking into maybe creating more courses. I've done some coaching, but I always feel like I'm a bit of a begging monk, you know. I ask, please, can anyone help me? That's all I can do. So that's kind of the situation. Jarvis says you're doing your part to make Christianity more relatable. Yeah, I'm just trying to be transparent and to be as I am, and be hopefully a source of hope, and try to be positive and encourage people. That's all I can do. I unfortunately cannot fix the church or undo the horrible things that have been happening and maybe still happen today. Who knows? But at least I can try to do good. And so that's what we all should do. Thank you, Falling Apart. I appreciate you stopping by. Hermano says, your ministry remembers me of St. Paul, where he was working at the same time as preaching to different people. That's true. St. Paul worked at a tent shop. He was selling tents, camping stuff. So even St. Paul, and St. Paul actually, if you look closely, he was constantly fundraising. He didn't have any source of income, so he depended a lot on the people that he was sent to. And, so not much has changed. So I shouldn't worry. If the apostles had to do that, then why should I worry about my sustenance? Sometimes I do worry, because I still have to pay rent every month. And yeah, at one point, of course, the reserves are going to be depleted. And then what? But maybe that's also where God wants me to be very much dependent on His providence. And that's why I always hope that people continue to pray for me, but more importantly, pray for my mission, that what this work that I do, that I can keep doing that, because I believe it really matters. It really changes lives. But it's not classic parish work. So for a lot of people, this may seem useless or not relevant or not important. But I know better. But anyway, so please keep me in your prayers. Could definitely use it. And you're always in my prayers. We will talk soonish. I will be traveling in the next few weeks, so I'm not sure if I will be able to go live. So maybe I'll take a bit of a summer break. But if you stay subscribed to these channels, I will show up again when I am able to. But so maybe next week. So next week I'm hoping to be in Ireland for a couple of weeks to do some research, and then I will be doing a walking event, and then I might take 2 weeks of vacation. So anyway, but I'll keep posting anyway, but maybe not do the live streams. That depends on the availability of Wi-Fi. So thanks for stopping by, and have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. Take care.